Hello friends, and welcome. I remember when my mother was alive, whenever some problem or crisis arose in the family, which was not infrequent, she would exclaim, "God, please help us. Mother Mary, please pray for us." And when something good happened in the family, she would exclaim, "Thank God, thank Mother Mary." So I grew up with this deeply impressed on me. Let God be at the center of our family life. Turn to Him always, in good times and in bad. He will guide us through. And all we had to do was just try our human best in a given situation and let Him do the rest. This attitude of trusting that God would take care of us certainly helped in building our resilience and confidence, because no matter what happened, we knew God was the one in charge and that He was in control and that He would guide us through, so long as we did our part in trying our human best. Let's face it, as parents and now as grandparents, we know there are so many situations that are just outside our control. And if we were to have an attitude that we needed to be in control of all situations and all outcomes at all times, instead of trusting in a loving God who is the one ultimately in charge, it would be very easy indeed to feel depressed. This is backed up by data. In an op-ed for the Straits Times in February 2021, a senior consultant psychiatrist noted that there is a strong inverse correlation between religious commitment and depression. Or more simply put, religious people seemed less likely to get depression. Of course, there are many factors that can be involved in the development of depression, including endogenous, environmental, and medical ones. But we cannot deny the data that shows clearly the inverse correlation between religious faith and depression. How else can we explain this? As we discussed in an earlier episode on the theology of the body, it is only in our union with God that the spousal meaning of our bodies will be definitively fulfilled. And it is then that our infinite thirst for love, for fulfillment and happiness, true happiness, be quenched by the one who is absolute goodness, beauty, and truth, God Himself. Without God, we will not find any meaning in life. Not for ourselves, not for our children. Which is why St Augustine famously said once that, "You have made us for yourself, O Lord, and our heart is restless until it rests in You." Yet we know for a fact that many of us have difficulty trusting in God and letting Him be in control. Why? It has been suggested that it is because many of us have difficulty trusting in a loving Father who truly wills our good and wants only the best for us. In a sense, this is a consequence of original sin, isn't it? Pope St. John Paul II once said that original sin was above all an attempt to abolish fatherhood, placing in doubt the truth about God, who is love. When Adam and Eve decided to take things into their own hands and grasped at the forbidden fruit, at what they felt was good for themselves, they did it because they were deceived into thinking that God was withholding something good from them. They did not believe nor trust that God was their loving Father who just wanted their good and their true flourishing. I know it is not easy. Many of us have been hurt by authority figures in one way or another, at one time or another, and therefore have lots of difficulty trusting in a God who is love, in a God who came not to be served, but to serve. I would like to summarize this episode by sharing with you a story which I first heard from Jason Everett when he came to give us a talk a few years back. I'm paraphrasing what he said, obviously, but this is more or less the gist of it. This impacted me greatly, and I believe it will for you too. There was the story of a father who brought his child to school one day. As the boy left the car, the father said he would be coming back for him. This was in Armenia in 1988. Later that morning, an earthquake struck and the school building collapsed with all the students and teachers inside. The boy's father rushed to the school and started removing the bricks and debris with his bare hands. Minutes turned into hours, hours turned into a day, and then the next day. His hands hurt, his skin was broken, and he was bleeding from the wounds. But he did not stop. He just kept digging and digging and digging, removing bricks after bricks, boulder after boulder, furniture after furniture. He only had his son in mind. Finally, he removed a big piece from the rubble, and there below it was his son. His son just smiled back at him and said, "Papa!" And his son then turned to the other students around him and said to them, "I told you my papa would come. He told me so." This is the image I hope we can have of our God, who will stop at nothing in loving us. So as we end this episode, can I suggest we reflect on what our image of God is? Do we buy into the lie that he's like a harsh policeman up there, just waiting to catch us out and punish us when we sin? Or do we rather see him as a God who's madly in love with us and our children, and that he wants only our flourishing and our good, even if it means bleeding, suffering, and dying for us? Can we let this God be in charge? Can we let him be at the center of our family life? Till we meet again next time, and we'll talk about the importance of honesty in our connection with our children. Take care, and God bless you and your family always. Goodbye.